Good afternoon. Well, we sure have heard a lot today about data sets, and a lot of ingestion. I mean, think about Kit's first slide here, 300 million or billion words just to train ChatGPT. You learned just now about the data being created and captured for the farmers. One of the themes that we can see in the AI world is not only does it take a lot of data to move AI forward, we're getting even more data out of it now. AI represents not only a new source for the truth of the data that you have to put in, but it also has a lot of data coming out that is going to change the paradigms of how we look at our businesses and how we look at our systems. And that's what we're going to cover today. I'm going to talk about data-driven decision making, and then from there we're going to go off into ideas of various collection models. We'll talk about a few use cases we're working on right now that involves both fast action real-time data as well as long-term analytics for trends. To leave you all with thoughts around not only is your AI story about what you can do with AI up front, but it's what you can garner and gain from it in the long term with the analytical trends and the analytical data that it's going to provide you with. So with that, let's just talk a little bit about data-driven decision making. A lot of people take for granted what that concept is, but at the end of the day, it's just using information that you have available in addition to your own biases and the other things that your team have to come up with a decision that's the best for your business. Whether that's a value proposition, an investment proposition, what's important is that you have sources of information that you can rely on as truthful sources to make an informed decision. AI offers new ways to get additional data, and if we just focus right now on the AI vision that we're demoing today, you have two types of collection models for data-driven decision making. You have the real-time, actionable, fast data, but of course that's stored and archived, and you have long-term analysis of that data. So different bits of telemetry, different bits of information that you're getting from your AI subsystem that can then help you make more decisions. But what does that look like? How does that really apply to the real world? And so that's where understanding the collection models come first, and then we can apply them to use cases. So I've already talked about two collection models. One is a real-time and one is long-term, but what do we do with that? So from a real-time perspective, we're looking at immediate interpretation and being able to act on the information. So if you've looked at PlainSight's demo, you've seen it detecting objects. If you've looked at the dashboard next to it, you see the information that comes after the objects are detected. That's real-time, fast, actionable information. But then over time, there's trends that could be pulled, and that's where the real kind of long-term value comes. So if we're talking about the demo here, one of the analytics that would be run against what happened is, what is the most common item people have been picking up and hiding from the Vision AI? Because that gives us a frequency of popularity that everybody's attracted to. Just one little ounce of that information kind of can then move us to additional ways to think about how do we interact with our customers, how do we interact with the audience. The point being, analytics isn't going away in an AI world. It's actually going to flourish because the amount of information we have available is going to increase. So one use case I'd like to share with you is one that we're doing with a winery. And so we have a winery that we're working with right now, and they have a bottling line. And what you may not know is a lot of bottling lines, they have good technology, at least for moving the bottles through and basic detection. But this winery, for example, didn't really have any way to monitor bad capsules or corks being put into the bottle. And the fill line didn't have a very good way of knowing that the bottles were all at the same level. So using Vision AI tech and the real-time analytics, we could monitor, are the labels going on correctly? If there's any variation, we could stop the line, recalibrate, start running it. Are the bottles being filled correctly? Because there's certain tax laws that require the right amount of fluid to go in there because you're paying for the alcohol tax. So if you're not filling them enough, you're actually losing money because you've already paid the taxes, but the liquid didn't go out. And then cork and capsule usually go on at the same time. So if there's any alignment problem, you want your line to stop. If the bottling line doesn't have these systems, what do? Rip the bottling line out and buy a new one? Those things run seven figures. But with Vision AI, you can introduce those sensors into an existing system, which basically elevates your existing CapEx at a much lower price point, and now you're getting more longevity out of that system. So not only do we have real fast analytics for when things are happening, we can then also look at the trends of the long term to see what parts of the bottling line are always having problems, and then we can take maintenance on there. So you're getting huge amounts of information now that you wouldn't have in the past, because now you're introducing technologies that didn't exist in these systems to augment their capabilities, which gives you more capability. So really, what is the long term? At the end of the day, it's all about tracking trends and insights over time. You're not going to get away from real time because AI is really about real time, but using that real time and trending it across time frames allows you to start seeing patterns and start taking good behavioral actions to maximize your business. You're still going to need analytic tools, so the tools that exist out there today are only going to get bigger and better. Some of you may be using Snowflake, some of you may be using Splunk or some of the other technologies. Those are only going to be enriched by the data sets that are coming from the AI systems. But we will start seeing new ones because you'll start seeing analytics with AI built in. There's a company called Esri that's doing that right now, where they've got AI built into some of their mapping systems, specifically in public safety, to do forecasting of where crimes are going to occur based on historical data of where crime mapping is already happening. That's a good example of using live analytics with AI technology to kind of get a real-world view of what could be happening in a city. But let's talk a little bit more about some of the other long-term benefits. And I want to use construction because we're doing a couple different use cases with different types of areas, but construction is a big, big part of our economy. And well, the federal government just passed a $1 trillion bill that gave a lot of money to do a lot of construction. One of the common aspects of construction is every construction site has OSHA mandated personal protective equipment that has to be worn by everybody coming on site. You could use a Vision AI system to, in real time, watch for people coming onto the site that don't have that personal protection equipment. You know, maybe they're missing goggles, maybe they're missing their hard hat, maybe they're missing their vest. But you can alert it immediately, let the supervisor know, they can give them the equipment they need so they can stay within compliance. But now imagine the long-term benefit of that. The long-term benefit of that is you're now recording that information. As opposed to Joe stopping Ed from not coming there, the AI recorded that Joe didn't have his hard hat and Ed had to give him a new one. Now we can look at the data over time and say, what is the most common equipment that people are forgetting? Who are our most guilty repeat offenders? What can we do to improve that? And by addressing those issues, you could then go to your insurance companies, show them what you've done to improve the safety of your area and get reductions in your premiums because you're doing way more than you've done before. These are the kinds of things that are available when you have the data sets to prove what you're doing and the newer technologies that are out there to augment the systems that you already have in place. And finally, I want to leave you all with the idea of retail customer loyalty. We all know about our little phone number or whatever we put in with all the different retail establishments that exist. Well, you know, they're not sitting idly by and not investing in these technologies. If you think of a store like Best Buy, for example, they have cameras all over the place. And so they're going to start profiling and looking at you and seeing you come in. They're going to watch you moving around the store to understand your behavioral tracks, see the types of items that are being bought on a frequent basis, and improve their loyalty programs, not with real-time data, but with those long-term trended analytics that you can get from an AI system that can track every individual in a retail store and watch them move around and understand their shopping behaviors, which you can then use from a marketing perspective to offer them the right products, to increase your sales. So again, elevate your company up. What you all should realize is AI is an accelerating technology. One of my coworkers gave a great example of what it was. And if you think around the turn of the century, you know, when construction was occurring and we didn't have, you know, power tools, we had manual drills, we had manual screwdrivers. With the introduction of the power tool, we had a massive acceleration in an individual's capability in construction, and the overall construction industry experienced a massive acceleration in everything that they can do. AI is like that. AI is like the power tool that we haven't had, but it's going to give us all these new tools to accelerate the capabilities of ourselves and our businesses and to drive us forward into the future.